Hi, all our partners and friends in Canada. I'm here in Jubilee, Stratford with Trevor and Lesley Biehn, the pastors of this great church. And we want to introduce to you Lesley, who is going to increasingly be a voice for us as a movement in Canada for the political issues that we're facing as Christians. So Lesley, what's going on right now that we need to be aware of?
Sure. So I just want to draw your attention to a couple of issues that are currently happening in Canada. And right now, of course, in the news, one of the main things that you might be hearing about is the student summer jobs application form, which they've now added a special box you have to check saying that basically, fundamentally, that you believe and back abortion, amongst other things, which is causing faith groups to really reel back. And the problem with that is that faith groups happen to be quite a few of the groups that are hiring students to do things like feeding the homeless through soup kitchens and all sorts of other incredibly community positive activities. So, but they feel that they cannot check that box, so they're going to be lacking in government funding. And ultimately, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms says that we have the freedom of thought and belief. So really, this should not be, they cannot dictate to us what we think. My MP has said is that you're to hand in the application form in paper version, because if you won't click the box, you cannot do it online. But you hand the form in paper version, and you also inform your member of parliament that you are doing that so they can keep an eye out for the funding. And then where it has the box where you're supposed to check that you agree with things like abortion, you just kind of state the part of the Charter of the Rights and Freedoms or whatever you feel that saying you cannot feel in good conscience that you can check that and still apply. And what I've said to Trevor is if our church wasn't going to apply, well, we are now. So that is something that every Christian can do, every faith group can do. And it's actually not just limited to the Christian faith community. There is a unity amongst many faith groups that will not check that box. And so with a unified voice, this can be very loud. And in fact, I just read today that the Abortion Rights Coalition of Canada has said that the government should actually back down and take that box off of the student summer jobs, because they want faith groups to be able to access this funding. So even the abortion rights activists are saying this has gone too far. So we need to stand firm and we need to apply, and that's one thing. The second thing that's on the radar right now is Bill C-45. It is the bill for the legalization of marijuana. It has passed in the House, so it is past that, but it's in the Senate, and the Senate's job is to have a sober second thought. So what we are saying now is to write members of the Senate. Right now, especially Senator Betty Unger, she's really taking a firm stand against this and saying that the police are saying they are 100% not ready for this legislation by July 1st. And the medical community is actually very opposed to this being legalized. That's what our member of parliament had told us. And so those two professions are key, and their voices are not being listened to. And it's just coming way too fast, and it's way too broad, and so we need to be acting on that. And a couple other things I just wanted to bring your attention to. I don't know if you have heard that there's been $20 million allocated for international abortion to be going on, but we have even up to 60 First Nations reserves that don't have access to clean drinking water. So I would really, as a Canadian, I have an issue with First Nations reserves needing to boil their water while we're funding abortions overseas. That doesn't compute in my mind. Just one more small detail, that when you take the time to actually hand write a letter to a member of parliament or a senator, it's actually worth 1,000 voices. They consider it 1,000 voices. So one letter can have great impact.
That's fantastic. Lesley, thank you so much for just making us aware of what's going on in Canada. And partners and friends across Canada, increasingly, as I said, you're going to be hearing from Lesley and Trevor. Lesley has been very involved. We want to be a voice in some of these issues. So watch this space and do as Lesley said. Let's get involved. And along with this video, you're going to get some information, a letter that's going to accompany this with websites, etc. So let's get involved as partners in harvest in our country. God bless you guys.